All right. So we are getting our participants in as we get going. Hey, Courtney, great to see you. Um, Jerry Johnson joining us.
I'll only have about an hour this evening, so just wanted to
Tanya,
let you
I don't
know.
even know if I got an hour of energy in me, but let's see if we can get this done in an hour.
Now, if we're talking about energy, we're talking about 5 minutes. At least.
That is fair. Oh, good. Parker's here. Hey, Parker. Um, all right. I don't see Frank, do you mind just sending a quick so one of the things I think you all know is that for me to start the Zoom, I have to log out of my ANC email and log into the ANC office blanket email. That's the way the account is set up. So I lose access to like everything if I don't print it out. Would you just mind sending a quick note to our newest member? And his email is it just Magico is the way it comes together. Um, let's do this. It is 7:07. We have a somewhat of a lighter group tonight. Let me just do the quick roll call. Howard Kurtzman.
Present.
I'm sorry, what had you asked regarding the Magico or
Could
the
you just
email?
email him really quickly and see if he is planning to join us?
And that's who, a new member? I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
missed.
our new member that you had referred.
Okay, yes.
Tanya Shand,
Present.
Karen Gall,
Present.
Frank Chauvin.
Yes, present.
Matt Fay is here. Um, we've got Krishna Kumar, who is out of the country and unable to attend. I don't see Ian Hawksworth. I don't see David Martin. And we're waiting on our newest member, who we will introduce when he gets here. All right, so we've got actually a relatively short agenda tonight. The big agenda item is going to be on discussion relative to the placement of the throne bathroom, which was approved by the council member's office in the budget for this fiscal year. We received some additional detail from her office today about the placement. Just want to have a conversation about where that could go, any recommendations from this committee, and I'll convey that to them in my email. There's David Martin. Great. Hey, David, welcome. Um, we've got an update on the bid. And then I'll be honest, I was on a call for the last hour, which I'll give you an update on, so I didn't pull everything over. And so if somebody's got my email from this afternoon with our agenda items, maybe you can help me run through the rest of the agenda so that the community is aware of our full agenda items.
Park space at 600T.
Great.
I think that's
Was that it?
625,
Yeah,
right?
625T. Was that it? Was it just the throne, the bid update and the park?
Formation of a comp plan task force.
Yes. Okay, good. Um, great. So let me start off with item number one, which is the update on the last hour that I was on a call. So this committee has reviewed the gentle density resolution twice. We've actually reviewed it three times. The first time was a very, very brief verbal presentation by Commissioner Barrio. It was not sufficient for the committee to really give feedback. We spent a good amount of time in November discussing it, giving feedback. And then again, our almost full December meeting was focused on gentle density resolution. At the last meeting, which was in January, the commission had a very robust discussion around gentle density. There was a couple of different votes on it. The vote that ultimately passed was to table the resolution again with the intent of this committee, via me as its chair, submitting very specific red line edits to Commissioner Barrio for the purposes of conveying the community's input on that resolution and with an effort to make sure that the community voice was a part of that. Many of you have emailed, and we have had emails regarding the resolution itself. Some of you have said, with so much opposition to this resolution, why does it continue to go forward? And the answer is that at the commission level, there are enough votes to advance the resolution. And so we are continuing to do our work, which I think is necessary and important work, to convey the feedback that we are receiving from the community, where we have concerns, where concerns are brought to us, and to improve on this resolution. I spent the last hour talking with Commissioner Barrio, Commissioner Hanrahan, and Chair Trindade Durama were both there as well. And so the four of us had an hour-long conversation about the red line document that I had provided to him, as well as the summary information that I had shared. The top line kind of that I had shared with all of you and with him were that there were concerns about the lack of affordability being built into the recommendations. It was advocating for density, but not for affordability. Real concerns about kind of a buy right free for all, and wanting to make sure that there were some kind of guidelines that were put up. And then there was also concerns raised that this particular resolution is out of scope for ANC 1B, as there are no parcels that would be impacted through the resolution that are currently located in the commission's area. I proposed a series of changes that were meant to provide greater clarity to the kind of the intent, as I understood it, of the resolution, to address some of the by right issues by really narrowing the focus so that it was very clear as to kind of what areas would be impacted, and what specific types of conversions would be allowed. And also suggesting that it continue to go through a zoning review process, but not an onerous one, so that community feedback could continue to be provided. Based on the conversation that I just had, my takeaway is that the recommendations that I conveyed on behalf of this committee are not being seriously considered, and that the resolution will head to the committee, to the commission again in February, largely unchanged. So at this point, essentially, what we're looking at is, what we're looking at is a resolution that has been reviewed several times by this committee, as well as zoning, planning, and development, and then a number of changes that have been recommended, and again, without a whole lot of work by me over the coming week with Commissioner Barrio. I don't expect to see substantive changes. And so I think at this point, I'll look for your input. I have some thoughts. One of those thoughts is to present my red line reflecting the comments of this committee as a separate and distinct resolution for the commission's consideration, so that there are two resolutions under consideration related to gentle density. If we were to do that, I would want this group to be able to review the language tonight, and to suggest any additional edits so that we could vote on it, and that it could be a resolution that had the vote of this committee behind it. So I'm going to move to the toilet conversation first so that we can all kind of process our thoughts on what we want to do with gentle density. I'm reading Tanya's body language, which I appreciate. And I share your frustration. And then we can kind of come back to the gentle density and decide what direction we want to take. And I also know that we've got some community members who have been actively participating in this process. I'm going to go to Frank's hand first, and then Courtney, I see you in the audience. I'll go to you next. So Frank, go ahead.
Hey, Matt, Mr. Correa, Mario Gil Correa is in the audience. And that's the new member I believe you had a discussion with.
I just promoted him to panelist.
And I just wanted to comment that I read your memo on all the issues that sort of well encapsulated I believe, proceedings conversation here since October, I believe. Or was it November? My memory's short or long here. But I don't personally need to see your resolution. I think if you've encapsulated everything, I would be comfortable proceeding. But I'm just offering my point of view. If you've encapsulated what you wrote, uh, I'd be happy to just agree that it would be fine with me. And again, I'm just one vote, but I had one issue, and that was with your letter. You talked about affordability, and you said defining or prescribing a percentage of deeply affordable units in that section, if you recall in your letter. And my only concern there, this is my only concern with the entire piece, and that is that we never really and we never defined affordability here. And I have a little concern with just defining affordability as deeply affordable because U Street, our neighborhood, 1B, Mid City is nothing without service people,
Mm-hmm.
without police officers, without teachers who can't live here. And
Mm-hmm.
and there's people running for the mayoralship who are promoting a middle class, or maybe I heard that from a delegate running for the delegate position that Eleanor Norton Holmes holds. But we need a middle class to keep us going too, and they are priced out. They're 2 hours living outside the city. They can't have a family and run back and forth. So I'm a little concerned about that one issue and prescribing that issue is only encapsulating deeply affordable. I think it should be workforce also.
Great. Let's incorporate that into our conversation. Mario Gil Carrera, Correa, welcome. Mario is our newest member of the ANC 1B Economic Development Committee. He stuck it out for two meetings as a participant. He's a glutton for punishment and signed up for more. So we are excited to welcome him to the committee with this first meeting in January. Mario, if you want to take just a brief moment to introduce yourself to the committee members as well as the public in attendance, just take a couple minutes, and then we will go to questions and comments from the audience.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. I'm Mario. As I've been introduced, I live in 9.5 Street, one of those neighbors that have issues with the mail all the time. Uh, and I'm originally from Spain, as I mentioned. I feel like I bring a different perspective on how things can be done overseas and very community-oriented neighborhoods where I grew up. So I'm really excited to be part of this committee, and I am really excited to work with y'all.
Great. Welcome aboard. Courtney, if you still had a question, yep, there we go. Allow to talk. Nope, you're gone. There we are. All right, Courtney, go ahead.
Thanks, Commissioner Fay. I appreciate it. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can, yes.
I just have some very kind of candid, organic comments, I guess. You know, it's like deja vu on this gentle density issue, which is like the funniest euphemism, right? Vis-a-vis 1617, it's like yet another time the public comment is like completely steamrolled, right? Maybe they'll like tolerate some like listening or whatever, like cosplay listening, but then in the end, it's just totally disregarded. And the, again, quote, gentle density thing goes even further to reinforce that. I mean, is it me or is it ridiculous that our group is even commenting on this when it doesn't apply to a single parcel in our jurisdiction? That is like, I'm not sure how that's even I mean, talk about it. That goes beyond the pale in terms of common sense. Why in the world are we trying to tell other wards what to do? I certainly don't want other wards telling us what to do, right?
Yep.
And this is why this greater Washington thing is a big issue, where they have so effectively organized throughout our entire city with their developer-backed mission. Listen, everybody wants to help alleviate the affordable housing issue, okay? There's lots of differences of opinion on how to do that. But when you've got a private company-backed a lobbying organization, which a lot of the followers of GGW don't understand. It is a 501c4 with a sidekick 501c3. Lots of lobbying groups are organized like that. Okay, that makes sense to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's legal as long as your employees are keeping really good track of their time and expenses. But let me read you this like quote from this Alex Baca, who just sent out like a recap from their mixer, their kind of social engineer this whole thing. This is quote, "We're hiring a DC organizer to get candidates elected to the district's ANC seats and wrangle them in support of pro-homes, pro-transit policy once they're serving in them. This person will work for me!" Exclamation point, end quote. Well, folks, this person actually, sure, that private entity employee will work for Greater Washington, but the ANC should work for us, not Greater Washington or any other group or any other so-called future residents or anybody else outside the ward. Things are just so upside down. I didn't even really know what to say. If they're really serious about this gentle density, what they would do if you're thinking about, let's say, a neighborhood like, I don't know, Chevy Chase, DC, is that kind of the general intended area that this affects? Or do you guys have a different impression of that?
I will respond to that by saying that that is Chevy Chase DC is exactly where the narrative is focused.
Okay.
What will be impacted are much more likely because of the economics of land acquisition.
Uh-huh.
We are much more likely to see wards 5, 7, and 8 be impacted by
Yeah.
this.
So that's what I was thinking too. And to me, if they were really genuine about this, what you would do is you would incent individual homeowners. Let's say you give them a $10,000 grant or credit or whatever you want to call it to finish their basement, right? And they rent that out to teachers, first responders, community workers, social workers, or whoever they want, really. But it incentivizes that truly gentle density. It also helps current homeowners, maybe some of which are kind of, barely getting by as a homeowner, right? This is what helps, I think, the displacement issue is then these individual homeowners are making money out of their own home, right? And maybe bridging some gaps within their larger family. But that isn't being brought up, that sort of idea, because of course it's not a developer beneficial endeavor, right? So, anyways, this is again very organic, very kind of candid with y'all, but that's where I'm at with this thing. It's like deja vu, and I'm not sure how to get out of it. I have to admit, Greater Washington is very effective, right? And they have a majority of the ANC seats now. So once that takes over, it feels a little defeating. But I appreciate each and every one of your work. Thank you.
Courtney, thank you. And thank you for being a consistent voice here. Aaron Harris, I see your hand is up. I'm going to allow you to talk. Oh, sorry, Aaron. I think you jumped around on my screen at the same time. If you unmute yourself, Aaron, you should be able to talk.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
We can, yes.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Aaron Harris. I'm the Commissioner for 7002. And I was coming here because when I read the proposed resolution, my first thought was, why is it citywide? I thought I was going to propose that this be a pilot program in 1B with a 5-year deadline so we can measure it, because a lot of these development organizations, they have these single use entities that they use to develop, and there's no proof of concept. And now that I know that there's no plots of land in 1B, I'm deeply concerned about this. And I would just like to hear where you guys are thinking about going with this, where the vote landed. I know it's been tabled. I don't know how much support you have for it on your commission, but this isn't even part of your area. You're going to tell us how to operate in 7B. I'm sorry, excuse me, 7E. And this is concerning when I found out the connections with some developers that we're currently working with in my commission, where they submitted their application during the summer break. And then they wanted to come to our meeting and have us vote to support them. And when we sent them back to speak with the constituents who actually lived in the area that they were going to develop, they went and spoke to 12 people, 3 of which who worked in the office, who are connected to some of the individuals connected to this proposal. So that's all I had. Thank you for the time, but I'd like to hear where this is going and which direction your commission is thinking about going, especially with no plots of land that's going to be affected in your area.
Aaron, I want to start by thanking you for being here. Secondly, I want to encourage you to join the commission meeting where this will be discussed on February 5th. I will forward you a link to register, and I would be very happy for you to attend. I will say that in this group here, you are preaching to the choir. This committee right here has been raising concerns for a couple of months. Really, to Frank's memory, we started the conversation in February, and we had robust conversations about this proposal in both November and December. And this committee reached a conclusion that there was no impact on 1B and further raised concerns about imposing a policy position on other ANCs or other wards when it didn't impact our ANC area. And so I like your idea of a pilot that would be tested, here at home before it gets rolled out. And I think the concerns that you're raising about other things that you are already navigating in your ANC are exactly the types of things that we've been nervous about. The commission is of a slightly different mind. The commission is right now, I would say, divided. And so that is the reason why we're spending a little bit of time more today talking about this and firming up kind of our recommendation to the full commission. But for a variety of reasons, not all of which I understand, there is kind of a 50-50 split in terms of those who are supportive of this concept and those who are opposed. I think the people who are supportive of the principle of affordability and supportive of the principle of density. And I think the people who are opposed are reading the text more literally and raising concerns about implementation and interpretation. And I think that's kind of the best that I can do right here. I'm going to kind of leave you on the panel here for a moment, Aaron, but I'm going to go to Howard Kurtzman and then to Tanya Shand.
First, I want to welcome Mario, and I do want to thank Aaron for joining us today, and I hope you can make it to the full ANC meeting. So, Matt, I just want to, I have a couple of comments. First, I want to praise you for the brilliant job you did in coming up with you might call it a compromise and an improved version of the resolution. I still have some misgivings because it retains this idea of by right, and that reduces or eliminates the role of neighbor, including ANC input to development. But nonetheless, I would strongly encourage you to submit it as an alternative or another resolution at the ANC meeting in a few weeks to demonstrate to the ANC members in public and to the public who will be attending that there are other ways of thinking about this. And just because one is supportive of increased housing doesn't mean one has to be supportive of the original resolution. The best way to show that is to offer an alternative. And I know this will take up the entire meeting. You'll probably go to 11 p.m. that night, but I think that's the price. Two friendly comments. One is neither version of the resolution ever defines gentle density, so you might want to add some wherefore statement about defining it. That will also show that yours is a better, more carefully formulated resolution. And also, I wonder, you present a new idea about a fee that would be charged. And I wonder if that would need council approval. And if so, I would recommend inserting that point into the clause there.
Yeah. Howard, I'd mentioned this to some folks. I'll just say it to this whole group. In some ways, I decided to negotiate against myself in the red line. There were certain things that I knew would not be accepted as a proposed change if we were to put forward a different proposal. I would suggest that we not negotiate against ourselves and put forward the draft that we think is the better version. And then that way that can be considered and potentially amended at the commission level. So, for example, the idea of not making it by right and still, requiring a review of some sort. I think that's a reasonable thing to include in a version that we might present, given the conversations that we've had on that topic.
Okay, thanks.
Tanya, go ahead.
Hi, I'm going to talk a little bit, not about the substance, because heaven knows I have written more words on this issue than I care to, both at the WNA level and amongst ourselves. But I just want to point out the strategy here of, I guess I didn't even realize it was this Greater Washington. I was thinking more of the organization that the commissioners work for. But the reason that they're not negotiating is because they feel they have the votes or can turn the votes at the commission level. And that goes to what the other woman was saying about how they're trying to place folks and why they chose this one. All very in my mind, very strategic, knowing where they have the votes, knowing where they have placed people. Even when I was going the other, what's the name of the organization that they work for?
AEI, American Enterprise
AEI.
Institute.
Yes. Even going back and forth with AEI, the commissioner didn't, oh gosh, what is his name? Francois had nothing. He didn't say anything. It was the other guy that was going. So no defense, no kind of like trying to move people, in his direction. He basically didn't say anything. And so that all speaks to, I really don't have to. I really don't have to talk to the community at WNA. I really don't have to work with the ANC because we have the votes. Now, what's curious in my mind, I think Mr. Harris is going to offer a perspective that's going to have impact when he goes to the full commission because of where he is. But the question is, where do they think is going beyond this? Why do they think getting the ANC commission to vote in favor of this, where do they think that that's going to get them? Because, it could just be dead in the water. To me, it would be something that's dead in the water. And that's just something to put out there, that they're going through all this effort for something that, in my mind, would die beyond the ANC. So just a thought.
And Tanya, the AEI article that was written was specifically directed at the DC Council. It was specifically focused on the Comp Plan 2050 rewrite. And so AEI itself is currently engaged in a campaign to engage council on adopting the principles of gentle density into the Comp Plan 2050. So the ANC is one focus for that action, but the AEI is focused on the council as a whole.
Right. So what does that then tell you, given the fact that they are council members? There's going to be huge turnover in council members. And so I think for those who really have an interest in this issue, you need to look at who is advocating for what when these council people that are running for office, and what they think they may get out of that exactly, because that's the next level.
Yep. So Commissioner Harris, I left you on the line. I wanted you to be able to hear in response to your question about where the group was, and I think part of what you're hearing is a divided group, right? You've got a committee that has spent a lot of time thinking about this and has raised some concerns. I want to make sure you've got an opportunity to either ask additional questions or make any comments, and then I will reiterate my invitation to join us at the February 5th commission meeting.
Sounds good. No, it's good to know where your commission stands in terms of which way it's voting and some of the background on some of the commissioners and this strategy that Courtney mentioned, as well as the other member. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, Ms. Shand. I find it very interesting because over here in 7E02, we currently have a very big project that's going to come right down East Capitol, RFK. We're in the middle of Fletcher Johnson, and developers who are consulted by AEI are trying to do another project right on Benning Road without consideration of school, it being an emergency exit route, as well as the renovation that's going to happen to the elementary school behind it, all while Fletcher Johnson is currently stalled under construction. So what I'm looking at is cheaper land in this area, and the developers are trying to take advantage of it, and now they want it as a policy. So I'll definitely be at your February 5th meeting just so I can make my case, and then I can know where people stand and what kind of decisions they're making, and I can determine what needs to happen next in terms of communicating with some of my other commissioners in different commissions and on my commission, because if nothing else, I want them to at least look in our eyes and tell us that they're going to do this regardless of the impact that it's going to have on us and having no impact in the area that it's coming out of.
Yes, I was going to suggest as many of your colleagues should show up at that next meeting. Absolutely.
I'll make that happen. Thank you.
And Commissioner Harris, for those of you who have not been in ANC before, one of the honestly best things about being in ANC is that you are inside of the dc.gov email system, so you can find everyone just on their last name. So it's kind of perfect. So Commissioner Harris, I will email you with some of the background so that you've got that, and feel free to reach out to me with any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much.
Courtney, you had your hand up one more time, and then I'm gonna probably try to bring this one in for a landing.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out a couple other connections, just because I know this from my previous work and just personal political interests. It's fascinating to see a super conservative think tank like AEI, which very often collaborates with Heritage Foundation, and we all are familiar with that org at this point, right? Project 2020. AEI is way free market, don't want government involved in anything, extreme conservative right wing. It's fascinating to see that tail of the political spectrum then be working with otherwise very liberal, right, DC folks and representatives. But it's concerning also because I'm not sure that a lot of the folks that align themselves with Greater Washington understand that totally. And I'm having an email conversation right now with Commissioner Aaron Lemon Strauss, because I was really put off by his comments when we were drilling down on that AEI employment by Commissioner Barrio and their relationship with Greater Washington. He sort of dismissed the ethical concerns. And so I've been having an email conversation with him since then, respectful, occasional. And by some of the things that he has said, he doesn't even understand that this is not just this do-gooder nonprofit world, right? Because they all think that it's just all in the name of this affordable housing effort. Well, right now we're looking at a piece of suggested, it's not legislation, but a piece of suggested legislation that doesn't even mention affordability. Well, the jig is up at that point, right? It just goes beyond the pale. And I think that from you're saying a strategy, Ms. Shand, totally right on. Their strategy is that they don't have to negotiate or compromise. So every time they go through this and like the other side starts to give away all these different concessions like we have with 1617 and now this largely, it's like they don't budge at all. And listen, if 1B really doesn't have any parcels that this would affect, why isn't the change that, sure, it only affects 1B, and then like you're saying, it's dead in the water? That's dangerous. You'd have to really make sure that's locked tight. But I do think that there's a strategy side of this that we're kind of late to the party about. And I don't have any further suggestions on that at the moment, but can think about that.
Great. Courtney, thank you. Look, without going on too much of a tangent, the thing that I will simply highlight is that democracy requires engagement. And if you feel like it's something that you're passionate about and that you think needs to change, then we need to engage. And Courtney, part of what I'm hearing from you is a lot of engagement. Part of what I know about this committee is a whole bunch of hours, not just in the meeting, but a lot of emails back and forth, a lot of thoughtfulness. None of these emails that have been shot off have been sent off without thought. So we've got an engaged group here, and I think we got our work cut out for us, and we're doing it. Let me do this really quickly. I'm going to just I'm going to pull up the document super fast. I wasn't going to do this, but I just want to make sure that we've got it. Let me highlight a couple of things. Remember, this is to some extent me. This is me negotiating against myself and the position of the Economic Development Committee um, because we were trying to kind of strike a compromise position. The compromise position being in jeopardy, I think we can, be more direct about the things that were raised. If it's okay, I'm just going to go through each one of these very quickly. We'll seek any questions. Folks in the audience, I've had to change the view on my screen, so you'll need to raise your hand so I can see you're there, and then I will let you speak. There's a couple of major changes here. The first big change is that I was proposing that gentle density be treated as upzoning. My thinking there was that if we stuck with zoning rules, it would provide a lot of clarity to everybody about both what could and could not be done. And so I treated it essentially as we're going to focus on the R-zoned lots and allow them to be upzoned into RF or RA. Which was the focus of what I understood Commissioner Barria's focus to be, row homes and multifamily. The second big thing that I proposed was that we asked Office of Planning to designate certain zones or areas that would qualify for this, so that rather than being a citywide free-for-all, it would be very focused and tight and specific. Again, the goal there would be to provide some guidance and direction, and that we encourage them to follow their own planning principles of putting density close to urban corridors or commercial corridors and transit hubs. Those are the big things. Otherwise, everything else is kind of just trying to provide some clarity. Howard, I'm kind of looking at you because you're really good at this. Are your thoughts that we just go through each of these therefore clauses, we decide if we want to make any edits or additions to it, and then vote? Oops, you're on mute still.
That would really take a lot of time, wouldn't it?
I'm also happy with people just saying, hey, I've read it, and I'd like to suggest the following friendly amendments, as you did, Howard, by saying, I would still like to maintain some kind of zoning review, ANC input, rather than just by right. So I guess if we've got friendly amendments, either from the commission or from members of the community, I'm happy to take those rather than doing a full review.
Yeah, and then you could clean it up and run it by us by email, perhaps.
That's right. Yeah. I think I'd written right here by matter, the conversion would happen as a matter of right. I would say here, we would just take out matter of right. And we would also say subject to standard
Expedited?
zoning. Sure. Do you want to do expedited? Expedited. Because it would still be subject to the review, but it would be expedited. Okay.
Do we want to say something about neighborhood and neighbor and ANC input? Great weight. Just to show the difference between this resolution and the other one.
Okay. This upzoning fee, I agree with you. This is a stretch, right? This was my attempt again at middle ground regarding affordability. To me, affordability is still a huge priority, and I would want there to be some degree of affordability built into this. So I'm happy to say we get rid of a fee which might be complicated, and we just set affordability targets. Look for the group to kind of give some thoughts on that.
Well, I don't know how you have for individual developments, like turning one house into four apartments. I don't know how you have it may not be practical to have affordability requirements. I personally like the idea of a fee. I just think it would need to be approved by the council.
Okay.
So we could, but I'll defer to other people.
Okay, we'll address that. Um, I actually read, I'll send it to this group. I read in the Business Journal today that a former home of a not-for-profit on 16th Street is selling for $2 million. The developers are going to turn the $2 million property into 9 individual market rate condominiums ranging from $800,000 to $1.4 million. And I think that that example is part of what caught my attention regarding when you allow for additional density, you are also creating tremendous increases in property values. And if we're not going to do affordability targets inside the project, I would like for that project to somehow transfer some of the value that's created to support affordability.
I support the taxing increase at some level, 5 or 10%. I remember you mentioning 10%, but on what? The increase in value or overall sales, or is it a land value increase? I guess maybe we don't need to identify, but throwing a 5 to 10% number out there, just to fund the affordable housing trust fund or the housing trust fund.
Okay. Let me do this. I will connect with people who are smarter and more knowledgeable than me on this and see if we can get some additional guidance, and then I'll send a revision back out to the group. The other thing I'd like the permission of this group to do is to revise the whereas clauses to be less referencing Greater Washington research and AEI research and more rooted in Office of Planning data and information so that we're being a bit more kind of neutral in our reflection of the need for additional housing and affordability in the district, but from sources that are more district based. So if you're amenable, I will again put it past this group, but I would like to make some of those edits as well to the whereas clauses. Okay. Aaron, I think I saw your hand go back up again. Did you have a comment? Okay, it might have been raised from before. Okay. Oh, plus one other hand. That's what it is. Frank, can you see who in the audience is got a hand up? Chris Otten, allowed to talk.
Yeah,
Go
Chris.
ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest, yeah, the whereas clauses are really sort of tying this ANC to really kind of dubious reporting. Um, just to kind of whittle that down to the key pieces of like what this is about, what this is for, the intent, right? But I think it's imperative that, and I put some language in the Q&A that even if it just says the tax stuff, like nobody's tried that yet in the city. There's concepts, there's a land tax concept that's just being brought about now, which I think is a good idea, but it's never really happened yet in the city. Whereas right now, under zoning districts, under inclusionary zoning, a reasonable portion of additional density gained is dedicated to affordable housing across a variety of incomes as well as family size units. I think making sure that there is a tie to the additional density that may be gained is connected to the intent of what I thought was the original intent of this resolution, which was to get at more affordable housing and family size units. So I definitely would encourage, I dropped that in the Q&A, some of that language in there, even if it's in addition to the tax stuff. And I would also advise, I think it was like the second or third therefore, where it's talking about the comp plan 2050 and sort of this sort of a predilection to do density around transit hubs and these corridors.
Yep.
Somewhere we have to acknowledge displacement. And so, acknowledging that these actions, these types of intents should also come with the intent to limit and or eliminate displacement. Like so that you're signaling to OP. I mean, OP is going to be the one who writes, writes the stuff up.
Yep.
So broad stroke ANC advisement, it's like, yeah, do this around transit corridors, but also we have to consider displacement impacts by these types of policies, inadvertent or not. Like sometimes we just miss things, and the result is actually lots of displacement, right?
Hmm.
Especially outside of where this is actually going to affect,
Yep.
which won't be 1B.
Yep. That sounds good. Let me close by saying this, and then we'll vote real quick. Oh, I gotta plug in my laptop. Sorry about that. Let me close by saying this. I think that this group, if we could, would essentially vote down a gentle density plan, right? I think that this group is on the page of saying we're not big fans of what has been proposed. Um, the reason that we have put the energy into this is because uh, the commission seems to want to support the principles of gentle density. And with their desire to support gentle density, we are wanting to provide an option that we think is a more responsible option. And so I look at this a little bit as threading a needle. And I say that both to my fellow committee members, but also to Commissioner Harris, who has thoughtfully and appropriately raised his concerns to say that this is not an about face by this committee, but rather acknowledging a bit of the political reality that um, there's going to be a vote on in February. And we are essentially saying, we're giving you another option to consider what we think is a more responsible approach to gentle density that takes into account affordability, that takes into account, thank you, Chris, displacement, that takes into account clarity that is given to developers and homeowners alike. And that if the commission is committed to voting on a resolution of this sort, we want to provide an option that we think is a more thoughtful option. So I just want to kind of put that out there because we have had so many conversations about saying, not sure we should be doing this in the first place, and just explaining the rationale for why we are taking one more crack at this. And I welcome comments and questions on that, but I'll start with Tanya, whose hand was up as I started.
My only comment is that I think I heard someone say earlier that gentle density is not defined. So I wouldn't say that we support gentle density because we don't know what that is, but we can say that we do support affordability and affordable housing. So that was the only that if we can't support what hasn't been defined, but here is what we understand the goal is, and that we do support.
Okay, helpful. All right, so let's do this. Let's do a vote on the resolution. It is essentially a vote on the resolution as reviewed with friendly amendments tonight, open to the revisions by the chair, sharing those with the committee members for final kind of email approval. But this is kind of a ceremonial vote. But the content in terms of the thrust of it is going to reflect what we have done so far. So I will move that. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor with your Zoom hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 7 of 7 present. Sorry, yeah, 7 of 7 present support. No opposed, no abstentions. I will make the edits and revisions. And thank you all for spending so much time on this. I'm grateful. All right, let's talk about portable toilets. Frank, you're up.
I don't know if you want to start with me on
All
this.
right, let me start with the background. There has been a discussion for some time on the need for a throne toilet to be put in at the 7th and T Street area. Um, this is in part because of the kind of significant congregation of folks in that area. Some of that is related to drug use, sales, and purchasing. Some of it is tied to, frankly, the group of folks that gather in front of the Shaw Howard Deli who um, kind of just hang out there and bring their own chairs, and it's a place to stay. But you've got a lot of people who are there without any kind of facilities. Some of the businesses have kind of raised concerns and questions to the council member's office and said, we just can't support people coming into our establishment and using the toilets. And we appreciate that the alternative of going to the bathroom on the street is even worse. What could you do? The council member supported the funding for a thrown toilet to be put in the 7th and T Street areas. It was written in the original legislation or proposal that it would go on the Duke Ellington Plaza. Emails to the council member's office and her team clarified that that was not their intent, as well as apologies that they were not planning to put it on the plaza itself. And when Frank reached out to them this week to ask them, we're going to talk about this. What do we really have to work with? We were told by the council member's office that what they had essentially written into the legislation is that the thrown toilet would be put within a 500-foot radius of the 7th and T Street into 7th and T Street intersection. And this 500-foot radius was estimated in a slide that was sent to us earlier today. So it is kind of coming to us to provide some guidance to the council member's office from a community perspective as to where we think this thrown toilet should be placed. To provide the orientation, the Howard Theater is right here. The new park at 625 T Street is right there. The Duke Ellington Plaza is right there. And the Shaw Metro North entrance is located right here. So with that kind of said, I will open it up to discussion about any recommendation we may want to make to the council member's office. And Frank Chauvin, you're on.
Yes, thanks, Matt, for that review. I'd just like to start my comment with the perspective that I was a commissioner last year, and I didn't want to support a proposition for a public toilet without knowing where it was going. I wanted that information first. This is the first I've learned that there's a 500-foot radius to first place this public toilet from the intersection of T and 7th Street. So that, as shown in the diagram, that gives us, lots of options. None of them really good because nobody wants this outside their front door. If they live there, nobody wants it right outside their office. It's a lot of give and takes here. There had been lots of discussion that it should go down by the library. And with this circle, and the library is a block south, it's at R, and we see S here as sort of the bottom of the circle. The library, in conversations with people while I was a commissioner and currently still hold this value, that it's an open space. There's no residences right there, and it's a more visible place where it's not hiding behind alleys. Whereas if we go, it sounds like there had been some interest at T and S at the top of the metro that this would be the location. But I like to hold the opinion that it would be better at 7th and which is more public, sort of, and no residences right there. But that's outside the circle. So according to the legislation, we can't place it outside the circle. But there is a provision in the legislation that says once it's placed, the director can make the director, meaning, and I'm not sure if this program is overseen by DDOT or DPW. Matt, do we know that? Is that DPW?
I don't know.
Well, one of those two directors has the authority to
Oh,
relocate
sorry.
it.
Which one are you talking about, Frank?
I'm talking about which director has authority over this program. Is it
Oh,
DDOT
yeah.
or DPW?
I don't think I think it's DPW, but I will find out from David. You'll
Right.
be copied.
Well, one of those has the authority per the legislation to move it once it's been laid for the reasons that they deem appropriate. Maybe I mean, I'm saying this a little facetiously, but maybe it goes in the park at T. Like we already have a fence around it and we put it there till we can so move it at a place that's more deemed appropriate, because these are all give and takes, who wants it across outside their front door. Um, but I like to suggest that it would be appropriate. And again, we would need the director to move it to the library down at 7th and R. But also, and I've been contemplating this proposition. Lots of folks have moved off of 7th and T to just north of Florida and 7th, right around the Howard parking lot there. And there's no residences up there, no real business. And Howard is a stop-in center for folks on opioids. They have opioid assistance program treatment there. So wouldn't that make sense up there, just as an inside the circle option to start out, pending further conversation about relocating if necessary? So I just wanted to put those two ideas out there.
Okay. I did not talk with the council member's office.
Oh, I'm sorry. One last comment, 30 seconds. Just generally, I didn't want to start off because and I asked a previous commissioner who is no longer on this commission, how comfortable do we make it for people to do drugs out in the open, to give them lunches, which is happening in this area, to let them do drugs in front of kids, to let them do drugs half a block from the Cleveland Elementary School at 8th and T, if we're going to place it at the Metro there at 7th, and I'm sorry, 8th and S. I'm sorry, 8th and T is the Cleveland Elementary between 7th and 8th there on T. But if we place it at Metro there, at 7th and T, it's not too, or 7th and S, sorry, Metro top of the escalator. That would, that's not a good thing. We've just moved all the folks doing drugs from the Cleveland Elementary at T Street. And so where should these folks aggregate? And so again, I'm trying to be concise and quick, but I don't want to make them that comfortable here for them to come from all over the DMV to get meals, to have a dry out center. How comfortable should we make it? And I just wanted two programs. The legalization in Portland's failed. Legalization, open drug use is failed. They're backing off that. San Francisco is giving them two choices because of the very large failure that most folks on this call are aware of, that they have two options in San Francisco now. No longer can you do drugs in front of me at the corner. You can go get treatment, mandated, or you go to jail. That's two choices you have as a drug user. And I'm a little more in that direction. We need to give these people treatment. How comfortable should we make it? But I understand one of our favorite purveyors of food, our operators, has human excrement outside her front door right off of 7th and T every morning, and her staff has to remove it. And that's untenable too. So I just wanted to pose those items for conversation. Thank you.
Great. Mario, your hand was up while you're getting yourself off of mute. I just want to kind of maybe clarify a point, and that point is there is no such thing as a monolithic problem. There's no such thing as a singular problem. It is a compilation of lots of different small problems. The problem that we're trying to solve here is the excrement problem. And I think we need to continue to focus on the health, safety, and well-being of the folks who are in the area. And I think that their health, safety, and well-being is not being kind of in the same place where drugs are being sold. But I think right now what we're focusing on is giving place a clean, sanitary place to use the restroom. I think it benefits those people for their own personal hygiene and health, and I think it helps the local businesses that are in the area. And that as we fix the other problems, we can come back and reevaluate, all the different solutions that we've layered on. Mario, go ahead.
If I remember correctly, you mentioned that the little triangle corner across the park was going to be made like a park or a public this available for public use. Could that potentially be a location um for that toilet?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that let me start here. A throne is a relatively large footprint, so you're not going to put a throne on a sidewalk. You need to have a space that is relatively large, relatively square, and that limits us, right? So if I was to kind of look at this and say, what would accommodate that? The Duke Ellington Plaza might be able to accommodate it, but with the planters, probably not. The park could probably accommodate it. We'll talk about that. The Metro Station Plaza could probably accommodate it. Something around, what is it called? Sandlot could probably accommodate it. And then either the parking lot at the Howard University Hospital or across the street could accommodate it. Those are really our options. Um, so then I think what we got to talk about is different trade-offs. I would never in a million years ever want to even discuss about putting a portable toilet at the Duke Ellington Memorial Plaza. Um, now we kind of get into the rest of them, and I think that's part of what we're having to grapple with here is of the options that are available to us, what's best. And then the only other thing I will highlight is that I have not spoken to the council member's office because I didn't really think about it until this conversation. But many of you probably know that S Street is the boundary between Ward 1 and Ward 2. And so there may have been a desire for a Ward 1 supported facility to stay in Ward 1. And so that may be part of the reason why the original resolution was narrowed in its focus to the 500 feet. Karen, go ahead and then to Howard.
Mm,
We can hear you, Karen.
Okay. My take on this is I really think that considering the area that is highly the traffic, a high traffic area where people can see the location of the actual throne, because most of the traffic doesn't go down to the library. Most of the traffic doesn't go into any of the behind locations that in various places, and most of the traffic doesn't go at Howard Hospital. However, what you do see is a lot of the traffic is at the metro station. Traditionally, you'll see people coming in and out of the station, high traffic area, people walking up and down the street. The metro station itself really signals this is a public area where people are in and out, and then also it has more visibility security wise for if there's any incidents or and people can't just they're going to do we know this area that people will do whatever they want to do. So I'm not going to say that that would hamper anyone from doing anything, but because the metro is there and then also as a landmark, you could you could easily say right here is a throne bathroom. Now ideally I agree with you, 625 T Street would be ideal. However, the use of a restroom, but it's too much of in a cut. I think it's just way too. We already have the dealing behind in that little cut with behind the bank. So I really think that you really need to not encourage it where we do see a lot of the drug activity, but we do need to have it where it's a known public place that people are always going to be there and the traffic area is there. If you come out of a station and you're looking for a restroom, you can say it's one right there at the Shaw Howard station. That's my take just basically looking at the community and for a public safety point of view, and then also for just a tourist point of view, et cetera, et cetera. I think those things are the things that you take into consideration. And it's not directly in front of someone's home. And then also the aesthetics of it all is something that you could work with the company to try to get blend-ins. I look at the various public restrooms that they have in Japan and other places where it blends in and it's not so aesthetically displeasing. So you can have some type of choices in regards to how it will look aesthetically in the area if it blends into the urban infrastructure that you have. So those are my shares on that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Karen. I'm just pulling up on Google Maps the plaza that's here at the top of the metro station. We can zoom over to the park area as well. But Karen, I think your points are good, which is it needs to be, known so that it gets used, and it needs to be in a place that is, I think, well monitored and well lit for everyone's safety. Howard, go ahead.
Yeah, Karen made good points, but I'm still concerned about a point that Frank made, which is that people who are not looking for a bathroom really may not want to look at it. This is the picture you show is a busy corner, a lot of residents and metro riders and workers in that area pass that corner. I don't remember what these thrones look like, but just the idea of a bathroom sitting there just may not appeal to a lot of people. They may feel it is even disrespectful to what is really a very nice corner.
It's not
I
a
do like
porta
the idea of
potty.
putting it in that. I know, but and maybe we should pull up a picture of what they look like.
I'm
But I
going to
do
do
like
that
the
right
idea of
now.
okay. I do like the idea of putting it in the park. It's very close to the core population that we're thinking about would use this. And we've been struggling for years now to come up with a good function for that triangular park. And I think this could, in part, it could serve as the placement for this not porta potty.
There it is.
What the tribute?
So this is the throne that's down
Yeah,
on Pennsylvania Avenue.
it's not very attractive. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not, and I think the park also
It's
is
ugly.
visible enough that people would be able to find it.
Howard, that's what I was, the aesthetics of it all. That one's ugly. Okay, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think that we really need to be very clear on what's aesthetically acceptable. And that's where you have those conversations with the company and let them know that we cannot have something that looks like an eyesore in the location and that they need to go back to the drawing board and how they present their product. And so they could do something what makes it looks as though it's much more aesthetically pleasing. But this is definitely not it. However, I think those are those conversations. If I'm investing a considerable amount of money into your product, I don't want to see that. That is horrible. But I do know that there's ways that you can fix things on the outside and still allow it to have the needed product use that you want it to have.
Yeah, but that would be an additional or separate message to the council member's office.
Yeah.
If
Well,
I
let's.
approved anything, I would write that into the approval process as to what the note, if we approve this, it has to be much more aesthetically pleasing, and don't bring us anything that looks like that. Bring us something that looks like we live in a city that wants to have something that is appealing and not an eyesore, and is also will bring in visitors and businesses and people who want to invest money into the city, and not something like that. That's a good quick conversation, and that should should really incentivize them to make sure that they put something better. That looks like something you don't want anyone to see. And I mean, even if you painted it or put some something on the outside. You have to do better than that. That's all. I just think that we're not advertising your product where we want people to go to the restroom. Even if you pulled up, Matt, look at some of the different public restrooms that they have in Japan and other places, and put that in the report as to this is what you should aspire to. I just think that we need to give them what it is that we see as a benchmark to start in order to place it in the city. I mean, they have all this, we want to be beautiful. That's not beautiful. So that's what I want. I think it's really important that we say that. Thank you.
Okay. So maybe what we do is this. I think there's probably 3 or 4 questions that we need to put to the council member's office. The first is, what is the required square footage? So let's find out for them what are the requirements for placement. The second is, what's the timeline that they're looking to do this installation? And the third is asking them the process by which the community can review essentially design options to select the design that is going to be most appropriate for placement inside of the community. And then I think what we can do is come back and say, here's our feedback, right? I think, again, we've already got it narrowed down to, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe sites that I think are the size that would accommodate it. I think Karen's principles of placement and accessibility and folks being able to see it are spot on. And I think it also gives us a chance to pressure test with the council member's office whether that 500-foot radius is flexible in any way. But my understanding is that it's pretty firm. With that said, I don't think, Frank, I didn't get the sense that we had any kind of like absolute urgency other than we wanted to make sure we talked about this to immediately provide feedback to the commission, to the council member's office, which I think we can now do. What's your sense of urgency? And then I know you had raised your hand for
Well,
a question as well.
I don't think there's any urgency. I mean, I don't know of any. There might be. I didn't see any language regarding must be installed date. But this is the conundrum that we're in because we're given this product. I mean, I am 99.9% certain this is the product. You go to Columbia Heights, they've stuck this behemoth, this monstrosity, in their Civic Plaza. Okay. Guess what the Civic Plaza is? It's not a Civic Plaza. Let's rename it a way station for the wayward people are troubled. Okay. That's what their Civic Plaza is. And it's ugly as you have seen. That's what we're getting. They're not changing their product. We can say, oh, it would be nice. Well, that cart already sailed. That ship sailed. It's not coming back. That's what we get. So my suggestion would be that we just list the item, by order. We want it here. Tell us why it can't go here, and we give them the list of 3, in order, and call it a day. But also I'd like to mention that I mean, if we could talk about a place to move it, because again, that park has been created for $800,000 or has a pending rehab going on at 625. We're going to be talking about it. And I sort of agree with, I agree with Howard vociferously, mirroring what I've already said, that if you place it at the Metro, and we looked at the picture. If you're facing from 7th Street, looking at the Metro, and you place it over there, the whole left side or the north side, the north edge of that plaza is an apartment building. So people would be looking down onto it, and so it's sort of not a beautiful sight. So with that said, could we move it to the Howard Hospital or to the public library? And that would be my vote and my postulate.
Okay. I'm going to go to Jean Hamza from the audience first and then to Karen.
Yeah, I'm just concerned
or
about
motion. At the end, the current site's not working, or there's a lot of pushback.
Hello.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
I think we had a glitch with Frank's audio. So Jean, you're up.
Okay. I'm concerned about the park. And you said we're going to talk about it later, so I don't want to get real into it, but there's not an activation in that little spot. And so what's going to stop it from becoming what was the north side of that sidewalk um, before the T Street Task Force and all the problems that they've had. I see it as, encouraging. And so that would make me want to adamantly be opposed to putting the toilet in the park, because then it becomes the toilet. It's not the park. It's not me. Who's going to go to a park with a toilet? I mean, who's the park for? And so I don't have an answer. I mean, obviously, this is all about um, where do we put something we don't want that we need, but I'm adamantly opposed to the park because you are, oh my God, we're going to lose right proper. We are going to lose right proper if we don't start taking care of right proper and anything else that's going on in that little part of the corner of the world. So I'm adamantly opposed to the park. I just think it will invite people to hang. And anyway, you all know what I'm saying.
No, thank you, Jen. Appreciate it. We'll have to look at the numbers. I believe that a throne is about $1 million, and I believe the allocation for the park is 800,000. So that, puts a bit of perspective on the investments in the area. Karen, go ahead, and then to David.
Okay, my take is this. I it's just like buying a car. If you don't like the car, you don't buy that car. And apparently, the aesthetics of it is really the big issue, the aesthetics. And if the dealer doesn't sell the car that you want, you go to another dealer. So when the question is this the only vendor that is in the price point of what the council is looking for? Are we just saying, okay, this is the only person's that sells this particular product, which I'm sure it isn't. I think what we need to make sure that it needs to be a very clear and concrete statement to the council and just with a survey of the city. This is not aesthetically pleasing. We do know that we need a toilet in the city for the people. However, no one in their right mind wants to see this construction looking like it's a Lowe's half done house or whatever sitting in their place for a long period of time. It's an unfinished product. And then also they can also invest in covering the eyesores to make it look a little bit more pleasing. So you can have the end product, but make the vendor responsible for fixing the way it looks because it's not working for Washington, D.C. I just think you need to make sure, and again, the wordsmith is Howard. He is the wordsmith, and he can make it as nice as possible. I'm not giving you the nice version of it, but I think that if there's anyone who can dress it up, it would be Howard. I vote for Howard. But I just think that we need to really make sure that we say this so that we don't keep beating around the same thing, but we can get the need that we have. There is a need for that particular system, but we just need it to be much more aesthetically pleasing. And again, I think it needs to be in a place where people can see it so they can utilize it, but also we need to make sure that it's well lit and all the stuff around it is helpful. Um, and and if something is not working in a location, it needs to be moved to a location where it can work. So it's not known as anything derogatory, or someone can say something derogatory about the needs that the public needs to have about it. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Karen. David, last comment, and then we'll lay out next steps, and then we're going to do one update and a wrap up. Go ahead.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I just want to second what I heard Karen say, which is that, first of all, people need to use the restroom. There is a need for a toilet. So just to underline that, I think that is very, very important. The fact that it is not the perfect solution, it is certainly not the most beautiful solution. I just want to say that I think that that's something that we certainly have a need for, and that of course everyone has a need for at some time or another. My understanding is that what the throne is optimizing for is not for beauty. It is an elegant solution in another way. And my understanding is part of the elegance of it is that it is designed to be cheap, to be mobile. And my expectation is that something that is more aesthetically pleasing such as like a permanent purpose-built structure, is only going to be a lot more expensive, and a lot harder, going to take a lot longer. My sense is that once placed, this can be moved. And now that may not be true, or it may not be easy. And I'd be curious to get more clarification on that. We might be able to take some of the uh, pressure out of this decision if we can place it on a trial basis, see if it is possible to be moved, and perhaps try it someplace else. Thanks.
Yep, great. Let's do this. I think we've got a handful of follow-up items. I will take the lead on those and I will copy folks as I reach out. I'm going to ping the council member's office with a request about the timeline for installation. I'm going to ask them for clarity around the physical space requirements to accommodate the throne. I will ask them about any flexibility that we have about kind of the product that we're being given. And then I will kind of pressure test the idea both of the 500 foot original radius and the process through which we would potentially move it. So I think that gives us what we need. My understanding is that they are not looking to finalize a placement here in the next couple of months even. I think that they got the funding approved and now they are starting to kind of go through that process of placement. If I hear anything different, I will reach back out to the group with the answers. And we may have to do more of a straw poll in terms of where we would say we'd like to guide them. But again, I really wanted to make sure that we had a chance tonight to be able to start the conversation, so that everybody was up to speed. We were raising the right questions, scrubbing in as we needed to, and go from there. Mario, question, comment? You're still on mute if you're talking, Mario.
There we go. To the list that you just said, I would add asking if there are any contingencies in case of misuse of the drone toilet. I'm thinking about, yeah, if it started becoming like a gathering spot where people are passing drugs or doing drugs inside of it, we are not stuck with the drone in the spot.
Great. Okay, misuse, good question. And I suspect that that's a citywide policy that we can get educated on. So thank you. That's a good idea. Let me do this in the interest of time. We had two other kind of updatey items. One was the bid. I think we're gonna have a lot more substance to talk about with the bid in February. The other was the 625 Park. The update there is that it's formally been transferred to DPR. Now we're trying to get DPR to start kind of activating it. So we'll kind of come back to both of those, I think, in February. The timely item that I want to share with this group. We have been talking at the commission level about the comp plan and our community and commission input into that comp plan. The gentle density was something that took a lot of time and kind of raised the question of what is the right way for the commission to be coordinated. We are going to be forming at the February 5th commission meeting a task force. It's going to be a 90-day task force with the opportunity to extend it by a couple of months if needed. The purpose of that task force is to solicit and to organize and formalize the position of the ANC 1B Commission on its broader recommendations to the Office of Planning for the Comp Plan 2050. I have a very strong bias that those recommendations are focused on ANC 1B area. And I anticipate that that will in fact be the case. There are lots of opportunities for us to be giving good and thoughtful feedback on the Commission Area 1B. The membership of this committee is going to be focused first and foremost on the committee members of economic development, zoning and planning, and transportation, parks, and public spaces. And then we have still yet to kind of work out some of the additional details relative to kind of who else would participate. But right now, I think the thinking is that it would be committee members and commissioners. It would be a public task force. So any member of the public would be encouraged to join. We would post our meetings publicly. Anyone could register and to kind of make comments just like they do in any other regular commission meeting. We are finalizing the chairpersonship of that committee. And I'm hoping that Chair Trindade Geramo and I are able to get that finalized over the course of the next couple of days before the committee of the whole meeting on Wednesday. The reason that I want to share it is that I want you all to be aware that this structure is being created, and to kind of let you know that this is part of what's in the works. The second reason I want to share it is that I would really like for folks on this committee who are really interested in the Comp Plan 2050 and the recommendations for our commission area to consider joining. I think this is an important and good opportunity. I think that this group has a well-informed and sound perspective on our community, and I would love for members of you all to join. And so, what I'm going to ask is that if you do have an interest, to reach out to me directly and just say, "Hey, I have an interest." And then, as I get more details and we get the structure formalized, I will be coming back to all of you with that information. We are thinking, because the way a task force is structured under the policies and procedures of the ANC, from its formation date, which would be February 5th, until its completion date, which is 90 days after it's formed. We're going to be getting together pretty quickly. We are planning to host a group of independent meetings separate from all the other committee meetings. I think over the course of the 3 months, we're planning to have at least 4 meetings. They will be virtual, although I would like to have one that's in person. And just want to let folks know, and I'd love to have anybody who's interested participate. Again, this is more just of a heads up and reach out. And I believe that Christian Brandt, who leads ZPD, and Commissioner Holden, who leads TPPS, are making the same announcements to their committees and encouraging them to join. And I think it's a great idea to have transportation experts and zoning experts, and economic development experts all at the table for this conversation, because the comp plan really does cut across all those areas. Questions or comments on that formation that I can potentially answer, and then I'm going to ask for any new business items, and then I'm going to propose we adjourn. Okay. I've gotten emails back from all of you, I think, saying that you are interested in continuing your participation in this committee next year, which is great. I actually have to get my application for chair in by the 25th, so I'll be doing that tomorrow morning. And again, just thank everybody for all of your time, energy, and commitment. Frank, and then Howard, and then if anybody has any new business items before we adjourn.
Yes, just a few, sort of an announcement, but first a question. I believe there is coming in the next quarter. Am I correct, Matt? I had overheard that the PPZ, performance parking zone, program might be discussed here. That is, of course, the U Street Performance Parking Zone, enacted last summer. And we haven't had an update, and we've been promised an update regarding the funding that has accrued, which I think maybe at the end of the fiscal 2025, which was last October, that there was $800,000 made on this program. And so I think the update will be, performance, how's it going, how much money, and, maybe measures to tap into that money, direct it, put some sense of how U Street and this commission believes it should be spent. Am I correct?
Yeah, so the update on the performance parking zone is actually going to be delivered to the full commission at our March March commission meeting, which is Thursday, March 5th. I've been emailing with Director Kirschbaum, who is the director of DDOT, and her team. They are working to finalize the performance parking performance summary, and we anticipate that they will be bringing that information with them at the March meeting. If folks have specific questions, I always like providing questions in advance. I don't typically find that gotcha questions help. And frankly, I also like to be able to give people time to prepare so that there's not an excuse to not have the answer that we're looking for. If people have any questions that they would like to submit to Director Kirschbaum and her team, send them to me. I will be also asking the commissioners if they have specific questions. I will be organizing those together and sending them over to DDOT so that they can include that in their presentation when they come in March.
Thank you. And then my last comment has to do with um, maybe other folks knew, I didn't. But last night at the alcohol committee meeting, we had a presentation, a drop in that was sort of unannounced by a gentleman who calls himself a business coordinator or a business small business affairs guy out of the mayor's office.
Yep.
That Monk, mayor's office of nightlife and culture, has, if not pretty much, been disbanded, and they've started up this new program where there's going to be sort of a few people, well, actually two, one for wards 1 to 4 and then one for wards 5 to 8 respectively, two mayor's office of community affairs business folks who will try to resolve what they call make things unstuck, I guess is what the mayor's been quoted as saying. But these sort of people will help small businesses help get unstuck for their problems with the district, permitting, et cetera, et cetera. So I found that interesting, that actually this had been planned, and I guess one of our long-term members here informed me today that that this had been planned in the budget. So the zeroing out of Monk and this program has been underway for a while, and I just thought that was an interesting development folks should know about. The question was, because he wanted to get feedback from the alcohol committee last night, and I'm like, do you represent, are you for business or are you helping community? And where's the balance? And it's really about resolving business problems, but he wanted to meet with us to be like focus groups and like give him information about what needs to be done and the problems we're having. So it seems like there's some opportunity to resolve community problems from residents, from us, along with any business that has a problem that would like to contact him directly. And if I can find this, I'll put his contact information in the chat.
Yep, that sounds good. No, thank you for raising that, Frank. I should have actually given an update. That gentleman attended the January ANC meeting and introduced himself. The unstuck kind of piece is definitely what he described his primary job as. My understanding is that he is primarily a business advocate, but I think he described his role as being highly collaborative with the ANC. And so I think he is kind of filling a gap that folks have seen where, yep, that's it, Andrew Shapiro. Thanks, Karen. Where businesses have had a hard time getting kind of help and support in navigating DC complexity. But he definitely sees the ANC as a partner in all of this. Howard.
Yeah, Matt, could you tell us the dates of the next meeting and how the meetings will be scheduled this year
Oh,
of this
good
committee?
question. Yep. So we will continue on our third Thursday of the month schedule. We were off 1 week this month because of the way January 1st fell on the first, and so kind of our cycle was just off a little bit. But going forward, the intent is that we will be doing the third Thursday of each month. I will send a calendar out to everybody. I think the next meeting is calendared. If it's not, I'll work with Karen to get the rest of them on the schedule. And then we'll continue to meet at 7 o'clock until tongue-in-cheek 8 o'clock.
Thank you.
David Martin got the fact that we never end at 8. Great. Any other new business or any questions? If someone can stay off of mute, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Howard?
Third and
Oh,
fourth.
Second.
perfect. All right, everybody. Thank you again. Happy January. Happy 2026. I'll see you all soon, and you'll be getting emails from me over the weekend.
And welcome, Mario.
Yes. Bye, all.
Good night.